Yeah, and the tape's rolling. Katt Phloxworthy. Just Katt is fine. Nerdy cat girl who features spaceflight. May 4th. Older than Pneumatic. Transgender female. 4'11". Sacramento County. Dialogue hair clip. Yeah, what's up, Dad? Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. Thank you for joining me. Bye. Not at present. Catellite feed. Cat Picks. Cat's Apprentices. Iris Indigo. Vintage computers and video. Technology. I love you. Ethnic foods. Craft soda. Pizza 10. Planet. Left 4 Dead 2. Classic rock. Human stupidity. Space hurry people. ISS crew interview. Thanks so much for your support and a final status check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur.
Go Katt Phlox.
You have permission to launch.
3, 2, 1. RD-180 ignition, booster ignition, and liftoff of Atlas V and Centaur. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me. Good morning, Katt Phloxworthy here on my YouTube channel this time. This is my first ever standard stream on YouTube, basically because I have no idea whether Twitch is going to ban me for, or at least suspend me or whatever for using any of Richard Branson's business names like Virgin Galactic, Virgin Orbit, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Records. I don't know. So anyway, we're here today. We're going to be watching the launch of VSS Unity, which is a Spaceship Two vehicle on its 22nd flight, and this will have a full crew of 4, a full crew complement of 4, one of whom being the Virgin Group founder himself, Sir Richard Branson. So they are in, the events are going to be happening in New Mexico, where they are getting ready to launch. Hi there, how you doing this morning? Or whatever the time it is, wherever you are in the world. So how you doing? So in the meantime, I'm keeping my eye on Virgin Galactic's feed to see what's happening here. But basically this and one flight next week with Jeff Bezos and a female member of the Mercury crew back from the back in the 60s will be flying aboard the first crewed launch of New Shepard sometime next week, and next week it's going to be crammed full of launches, including that of the Nauka laboratory from Russia, from atop a Proton M rocket from Baikonur Cosmodrome, as well as later on this month we'll see the first, hopefully actually working flight of the Boeing CST-100 Starliner. It is morning for me, just awoke, same here. Well, it's morning for me. I've actually been awake all night. I actually was trying to get ready for the event that was originally supposed to have happened at 6 this morning, but unfortunately things went a little nuts over in New Mexico. They had to push the launch back about an hour and a half owing to weather. So anyway, right now we're just keeping an eye on what's happening. The Virgin Galactic stream is supposed to, it says that it's supposed to start in just over 13 minutes from now. Actually, yeah, just over 13 minutes. We coming up on the 13 minutes, 30 seconds mark. So I'm not sure if that's when it's supposed to start or when the actual launch is supposed to be. But basically what's going to happen is that they have the unusual airplane, which looks like it has 2 fuselages, which is called White Knight 2, carrying the carrying Spaceship Two between them two. So, anyway, originally also that was supposed to serve as Launcher One, but unfortunately, apparently, development made it a bit heavy, so they ended up having to use one of their old Boeing 747-400s, basically replacing the pylon that would ordinarily be used to ferry engines from one part of the world to another, like for taking it to a maintenance station, like at Pratt & Whitney or General Electric or Rolls-Royce. Ferrying it back out to be installed, ferrying it away to be repaired, disposed of, whatever. Basically, with basically a new pylon on there that is supposed to handle the Launcher One, with electronics for the avionics as well as power. I'm not sure if any of the propellants are loaded through there, but last week they launched one. Actually, it was. I think it was actually. Was it last week? I forget. But anyway, that was the day we had solar installed here. So, but anyway, it was basically what ended up happening is that they had to. I ended up not being able to cover it, and on top of that, I actually had to ask Twitch, is it safe for me to even talk about Richard Branson's brands on your channel? And they came back with a definitely inconclusive answer, which is like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And at that point, I hadn't actually proven my YouTube channel, which I did later on in the week. I did it that weekend. So here we are today. I'm actually using it for the first time. The only thing is, though, is I don't have any of the other indicators up. I've got Streamlabs and Stream Elements set up for it. I just don't. I just have a lot of the basic stuff set up, like the chat. It pretty much resembles my Twitch channel, pretty much down to the fact that I don't have any of the indicators for, like, because we don't have bits here, and of course subscription have different meanings between the channels. If you subscribe here, that means you're following me on Twitch. If you subscribe there on Twitch, you'd be joining me here, which of course I don't have yet, because apparently that is a very, very high barrier to entry there, but I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. But in any event, last week they had, I believe it was last week. It was the 30th of June. I don't think it was last week. I think it was a week ago this past Wednesday. Yeah, it was a week ago this past Wednesday. Basically, what happened is that they launched several payloads for the couple of payloads for the United States military, and a few other loads up there. And from what I understand, all accounts, it worked pretty well. And right now, it is the second regular vehicle to launch from an airplane, the other of which being Northrop Grumman's Pegasus, which launches from the bottom of a Lockheed L-1011 TriStar, the only flying example of which anymore. And I wish I could have flown one of those, because from what I understand, that was a beautiful airplane. And on top of that, very, very quiet, because of the way it's designed. All the engines are not, they're pretty much isolated from the rest of the fuselage. But anyway, and on top of that, another difference there is that they launch it from the ventral side of the fuselage. They have a pylon down there on the bottom of the fuselage, and on top of that, since it's also from Orbital ATK, and pretty much guess what they specialize in? Solid rocket propellants. So it's all solid propellants there. So. And they recently, Northrop Grumman recently launched something there. Don't know what the nature of the payload was, or even if there's a replay. I hadn't tried looking yet, but yeah, they do some pretty crazy things over at Northrop Grumman, and as a matter of fact, I know one of the things they're getting ready to do is, once they get. If they can ever get the BE-4 situation squared away over at Blue Origin, since we were talking about Blue Origin earlier, they will be providing the GEM 60s. Ventral is on the bottom, dorsal is up top. And just as another example, since we're also talking about Boeing hardware, the space shuttle was transported on the dorsal side of a Boeing 747. Originally supposed to be the C-5, but unfortunately, that would have required them. That would have required the planes to still stay with the United States Air Force. In fact, there's supposed to be a civilian variant of the C-5 called the L-500. Just like there's a civilian variant of the C-130 Hercules called the L-100 Hercules. Nowadays, it's the LM-100J Super Hercules, which of course is patterned after the C-130J Super Hercules, which has the Rolls-Royce turboprops and the 6-bladed props, and it's of course Lockheed Martin as opposed to just plain old Lockheed. But anyway, yeah, the ventral side is on the bottom, and of course, as I mentioned before, on the Boeing 747, they launch it on the port side. Basically, the pylon sits between engine number 2, which is the engine closest to the port side of the fuselage, as well, between there and the fuselage itself. And there should be, I believe there are umbilicals there for, like I said, electrical power, communications. I don't think there's any propellant on there, although I imagine they top the liquid oxygen off. The interesting thing about Spaceship Two, it uses what is called a hybrid rocket. Basically, the fuel is solid. It's supposed to be a rubber type substance, and then behind it is a tank of liquefied nitrous oxide, but it gets released as a gas into the combustion chamber. I had some basic questions like that. Might have some basic questions like that. Yeah, of course. It's if you want, I mean, I'll do what I can to answer some of the more basic ones. The more advanced ones, I'll do what I can to answer those. But ultimately, one of the people I really look up to when it comes to explaining some of the more technical side of things is Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut. And basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bridge the gap, trying to get VTubers and VTuber fans interested in space flight. And then once they realize, if they realize they want to learn a lot more, then they can go to other folks like Tim Dodd or Scott Manley, or for older things, they can go to Amy Shira Title at the Vintage Space. And they are some of the best. They're some of the best YouTubers out there when it comes to space. And meanwhile, I'm keeping my eyes open on the feed. It has yet to go live. So it is now coming up on 25 after 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And of course, they're in New Mexico, which is Mountain Daylight Time, which is an hour ahead of where I am. I'm in California, specifically the Sacramento County area, the greater Sacramento area. So we hopefully should be seeing something within the next 5 minutes. I'm not sure if the airplane has taken off already or is in the air, but basically what they'll do is they'll fly White Knight 2 to a high altitude, likely like right around the 40,000 to even 50,000 foot mark. Who knows with any of these things built by Scale Composites, or at least certainly designed by Burt Rutan. That's another thing, is that most of the stuff that Burt Rutan does is so weird looking, but at the same time they have a particular purpose in mind. Like, for example, the one that went around the world, they managed to do it on one tank full of fuel, and they actually managed to make it around on a single tank full of fuel. From what I understand, I think one of the wings suffered some damage when they originally took off, and but they still managed to make it anyway. Let's see, we're inside of 4 minutes, and once things get going, we'll go ahead and switch over to their feed, and I'll go ahead and comment on it as soon as there's some more information. So this is a bit different from my normal rocket streams, which normally I do on I normally do on Twitch, mainly SpaceX, United Launch Alliance, and Blue Origin. I might actually do the other one, the one that's which I believe is NS-15, New Shepard, which will have I believe Jeff Bezos aboard, along with someone from, like I said, the Mercury program, a female member of the Mercury program who never got to fly in space. And one thing also to bear in mind is both of these are suborbital flights, meaning they'll go all the way up to the Kármán line and then back down again. In the case of the New Shepard, those will typically last about, I'd say, about a grand total of 10 minutes from launch to touchdown on the capsule. Both the booster will and the capsule themselves, both the booster and capsule will touch down. The booster propulsively so. Is N2O entirely standard, or are there other possibilities they may have considered? I don't know. I do know that liquid oxygen is you have to keep it at cryogenic temperatures in order to store it, like minus 180, 190 degrees Celsius, which is you have to keep topping the tanks off for that to work. But as far as nitrous oxide, you talk to one of your Ricer friends who has a bottle of nitrous in their car, and always one step ahead of the law, as it were. Anyway, but that's exactly the same kind of stuff they're using there. Basically, what it does, from what I understand, when they start doing it, when they get ready to do a boost on their car, they'll burst a little bit of it just so then it starts accumulating a bit of oxygen in there. And one thing to bear in mind when it comes to oxygen and things that burn, anything that burns in normal, anything that does not burn in normal ambient atmosphere concentrations of oxygen, may actually start to burn if appropriately ignited in presence of a much higher concentration or pure oxygen. And in the case of things that already burn, at least certainly readily burn in atmospheric oxygen, they burn a lot more energetically in the presence of much higher concentrations or pure oxygen. I mean, case in point, there was a Russian guy who was working on a vehicle, and I don't know if they were using full pressure, full atmospheric pressure oxygen, but apparently he had an alcohol-soaked rag that touched a hot plate. It immediately ignited and burned right through the entire thing, killed him. And of course, there's the Apollo 1 fire, which was a direct result of a pure oxygen atmosphere. They were only using only a third of an atmosphere's worth of pressure. Is it a better oxygen than atmospheric O2 then? I think because I think it's because it releases oxygen a lot more quickly. But then again, also, it's pretty close. I'm not sure how closely it is related to another one that's used for an oxidizer, in this case as a hypergolic oxidizer, when paired with a hydrazine, in this case being dinitrogen tetroxide, which is N2O4, which breaks off into I think they quickly break down into NO2, which is I think it's nitrogen dioxide. I'm not sure if they can actually stand on their own, but when mixed with water, it becomes nitric acid. So anyway, but yeah, it is nasty stuff. So, but yeah, usually it's paired with either, like I said, with a hydrazine, usually either monomethyl hydrazine, or in the case of RCS thrusters from the Space Shuttle Forward, or with Aerozine 50, which is half UDMH and half hydrazine. And then there's a basically what she said, put very simply. Anyway, basically any of those, when combined with dinitrogen tetroxide, will instantly ignite. They don't need a source of ignition, and that's why that's what the Proton uses. It uses UDMH and dinitrogen tetroxide as a bipropellant. And in this case, all they have to do is start moving the turbopumps. And they just went live over on Virgin Galactic, so stand by. So So there they are. They are up, and there is the vehicle in the center. Let's see what we got. So basically that is, I'm not sure which side or sides they actually, they're having problems starting their stream apparently. So I'm not sure which side or sides are piloted, but of course in the center of is Spaceship Two. But yeah, I watched something that basically said that originally it was supposed to be the platform to launch Launcher 1, but apparently Launcher 1 was engineered so much to the point where it was too heavy for this vehicle, so they had to, like I said, go transfer one of their old Boeing 747s from their old inventory at Virgin Atlantic and transferred over to Virgin Orbit. And of course, refit the interior such that they have mission control as well as command and control hardware in there, so they can drop the rocket and ignite it. And of course, they had a mission last week, and unlike the one that's on Pegasus, it is actually liquid fueled using RP1 and liquid oxygen. RP1 being a highly refined form of kerosene, and of course liquid oxygen. But yeah, basically N2O. That's what they usually use. They usually inject that into the airstream for gasoline internal combustion engines to make them operate much more efficiently. And if you're not careful, it can actually destroy your engine because it's a very, very, very powerful oxidizer. But as far as actually, I'm not sure what the oxidizing power of that is, but basically it's basically trying to carry around oxygen is a little tougher to do, I guess. And on top of that, being able to carry around enough for say an 8-minute burn up to orbit, or even just a couple minutes, like in the case of the first stage of various rockets, whether it's the first stage of the Falcon 9, or for 4 minutes in the case of the second stage of the Soyuz, which is lit on the ground at the same time as the first stage. They need quite a bit of it, and in order to get that much into the rocket, they have to get them in at cryogenic temperatures. So. And on top of that, they use liquid oxygen in the upper stages of those as well, both in the case of the Soyuz and Falcon 9. So, meanwhile, we're just waiting on the beginning of the stream, but at least they've actually launched the stream. What I'll probably do is just back over here for now until there's actually material on the screen. So anyway, so right now, let's see, there's at least a couple more launches going off this month. Like I said, next week we've got NS-15, which is New Shepard, carrying Jeff Bezos and that one astronaut, and I think there's at least one or two others joining them. They will be launching out of Texas. And don't know precisely what time that'll be, but as soon as I get information on when that coverage will, when I'll start my coverage, I'll go ahead and update it on my Twitter accordingly. So, and I might actually, like I said earlier, I might actually do it here on my YouTube channel, if for no other reason, as a series, basically. And both of them have one implication here, and that is both of them basically represent the opening of space to everyone out there. Not just the astronauts, but to everybody. It'll be expensive at first, of course. Everything is. I mean, even air travel was expensive when they first started, like with the Douglas DC-3, and then later on the de Havilland Comet and the Boeing 707. But we'll see how things go, because all these things are expensive when they first start out, but they will go down in price. Was the presenting partner the state of New Mexico? You know, that's an excellent question. Let's go take a look. I'll go ahead and Go over there real quick here. What support would the state providing? What are the decisions that go into having launch in a particular physical location? That's a good question. Because I know previously they originally had the VSS Enterprise, which was the vehicle before this one, which got destroyed, killing the co-pilot and severely injuring the pilot. That was actually in Mojave. So, in any event, what happened is that I don't know why they moved it out here. Because I know one of the things people seem to be complaining the most about California is high taxes, high cost of living, etc., which I can understand to a degree, but I have other reasons for staying here, some of which I won't go into here. But part of it is, well, the fact I'm trans as being one of them, which I can a bit more openly say, but there are other items that I won't go into because they are very, very, very personal matters. So anyway, so meanwhile, I'm wondering if one of the things I'm curious about is whether they actually will launch at what time they'll actually launch, because one of the things they have to do, of course, like they did with Launcher 1, they fly White Knight. I knew they flew Cosmic Girl out over the ocean and flew it at an altitude of over about 37,000 feet. And once they went into their hot pass, they went ahead and dropped it. 3 seconds later, ignited the engine, and then from there they started aiming it skyward and being able to get it above the area where the weather would be an issue. And these smaller vehicles are perfect for this particular for that particular platform. So. Oh, interesting. I didn't know Virgin had a previous crewed crash. Yes, they did, unfortunately. There were actually, I think there were like 3 other crewed launches of this particular vehicle, which is VSS Unity. It's another Spaceship Two vehicle, also built by Scale Composites, and I think Virgin had a hand in this one as well. So, we shall see. So anyway, I'm going to go take a look real quick here, offline here. Okay. So let's see, we've got Proton M launching the Russian laboratory Nalka. That'll be on the 21st of July. And then there's an Ariane 5 launching a communication satellite on the 27th of July, and then later that day, Falcon 9 Block 5 will be launching another batch of Starlink satellites. And right around the 30th of July, we'll see another launch. We'll see the launch of Atlas 5 in the ENVtuber configuration. ENVtubers meaning no fairing, because the vehicle itself will be fully aerodynamic. 2 solid rocket motors on the side attached to the Atlas stage, which is the first stage, and 2 RL-10s on the other stage, which is the Centaur stage. And then later that week there'll be the next day there will be another launch of a Falcon 9, this time carrying another batch of Starlink satellites. So that'll be interesting to see over the course of the next few days. So anyway, right now, still nothing from the, let's see, I guess it's a pretty substantial exercise of coincidence that Branson himself is going. Apparently the first crash in which the first part of the crew survived. Yeah. It made the news too. Basically, what had happened is that there's a pivoting section that the tail pivots up and down, and apparently it moved into the tethered position uncommandedly, and that caused a catastrophe. That was a catastrophic failure, which caused the vehicle to I don't remember the exact details, but yeah, it was not good. It killed one and severely injured the other. So, oh, I see. I guess it's a substantial exercise of confidence that Branson himself is going. Yeah, that's true. Because I mean, if they have 4 working flights of that should be good. And one of the things also that's supposed to happen, speaking of rockets and confidence and such, one of the things that that's ultimately supposed to happen is when Vulcan Centaur comes online. That will be what CST 100 Starliner will ultimately use when that goes into full op. There it goes. There we go. We have. Let me make sure that this is unmuted. There is White Knight 2 with Spaceship Two below that. It's taking off. I guess it must have taken off during our talk. I guess that's their countdown here until they actually start coverage here. If space travel becomes a norm, it'll introduce a way for gathering resources and maybe energy sources. Also jobs, maybe. Yep, possibly. Because one of the things that's supposed to be happening pretty soon is that NASA has opened up portions of the American side of the space station for commercial use. So we'll see stuff with stuff going up by SpaceX as well as Boeing, seeing private parties go up there. In fact, there's supposed to be a fully private crew going up to the space station later this or sometime early next year. As soon as I get more information on when that happens, I'll be sure to let everybody know and perhaps even provide coverage for it. Here we go. Weird to start the feed after takeoff. I guess that's true.
Another sunny day in New Mexico.
Okay, so meanwhile, here we go. We're on we're now starting into their feed.
Any minute now.
Which also means we can get rid of asteroids that can be considered extinction class. Actually, there's a bigger problem than that right now. I'm not sure if you've heard of the Kessler syndrome. Basically, it has to do with all the space debris that's currently in orbit around the Earth due to us.
Virgin Galactic in Sierra County, New Mexico, and the stage for today's momentous occasion.
And there is where Virgin Galactic has launched their vehicle from, or at least that's where they took off.
Unprecedented access inside the spacecraft and a live performance of a brand new song by multi-platinum artist Khalid.
Oh boy.
Philanthropist.
Oh goodness, there's
Adventurer.
Stephen Colbert.
Goatee host organism. Later today, Richard Branson and his crew will return to Earth as astronauts. Hello, everyone.
It's a weird analogy, but it's interesting to contrast the decisions to make when putting together space launch feeds with the decisions made in VTuber debuts. Yeah, an interesting choice of host. I actually makes sense to me, and because at one point they were trying to name they were trying to come up with a name for the news section, to which the cupola would be ultimately attached. They were trying to get it called the Colbert, but it ended up being called oh darn, I forgot what it was. I know there's I know there was I think it was actually the module that's used to dock everything together. There was Unity, and then there's
Longtime viewers of this broadcast know that I have an ongoing feud with Sir Richard Branson.
oh, this will be interesting. But anyway, they ultimately named it something else, but they sent up a piece of hardware that they ultimately named the Colbert, which is their standing treadmill.
Between David Bowie and Pam, the goat god.
Goatee host organism. He's being allowed to roast the CEO. Yeah. I don't know who's weirder, Elon Musk or Richard Branson. Oh dear.
Obviously, I said all of that in main character on a comedy show. So, Richard, I want you to know, as myself, sincerely, I meant every word. But there is one thing Richard and I do have in common, a deep, lifelong passion for space exploration. That's why Richard founded Virgin Galactic in 2004 with the dream of sending private citizens into space. Now, to do that, he needed to build every part of a whole new industry.
Oh, yeah, he's absolutely right.
Capable of the journey. Then, to launch these space planes, he had to help create the world's first commercial spaceport. And most importantly, he had to find the people capable of turning his dream into a reality, as well as people brave enough to get on a spaceship built by the guy who launched a soda this awful. Seriously, he lost money selling.
I think I remember that, too.
All aboard! Today marks the culmination of Branson's dream. He and his crew will set off on a supersonic voyage in which they'll achieve a maximum velocity of more than Mach 3.5 and ultimately enter zero gravity. Imagine staring out the window onto the vast expanse of space and seeing Earth below, our beautiful blue planet staring back. Unless, of course, you're the guy in the
Downstream's getting a little bit of a problem.
sitting next to the window to put
Yep, there they go. They're still pulling up.
Oh, and I'm being told that there are no middle seats in space. Thank you, science. It's been a dream of mine to go into space ever since I was a child. Unfortunately, I cannot be on the spacecraft today. I had a thing. Also, I was not.
I mean, it's different from.
But Richard was
I mean, this isn't that different from VTuber beefs. I guess that's true.
We'll be using this model to give scientifically accurate play-by-play of today's historic events, as well as doing this.
I can see it now. Centuries later, humanity will be going on a journey to find new planets to become home, like Mass Effect, Andromeda, right?
Never give up in the pursuit of even your wildest dreams. So let's now take you to where the action is happening, live in the studio at Spaceport America, where your other co-hosts are standing by. First, one of the newest members of the Virgin Galactic team. She's a science author, an expert in space exploration, a bioastronautic researcher, and most impressively, a TikTok star. Kelly Girardi. Great to have you here, Kelly.
Oh, TikTok star. That's a dubious distinction.
2 space shuttle missions and spent time on the International Space Station, where he served as commander and performed a viral.
Oh, Chris Hadfield.
cover. Here he is, the first man to do open mic in 0G, Chris Hadfield. Welcome, Chris.
Now, he was one of the first ones to make extensive use of social media from space.
And fun fact, actually got married in the spaceship that will be taking the crew up today, Veronica McGowan. So now I turn it over to Veronica, Chris, and Kelly.
I'm pessimistic on permanent space colonization for all sorts of reasons. I don't think it's going to happen in our lifetimes. It would be dope though if there are other species within our galaxy. Yeah.
Human space flight from the great state of New Mexico, and today our founder and his crew will become some of the very few
Canadian, good choice. Yeah. Yep. You're talking about Chris Hadfield, correct?
To Spaceport America.
So, I wonder if they're going to do much the same thing. That must be Richard Branson before his flight. And there's the rest of the people who are on the flight. Yeah, Chris Hadfield. I didn't really watch much of his stuff, but what I looked at him after the fact, he sounds like one hell of a cool guy. Not to mention the fact that made it a bit more accessible, for want of a better way.
Please sign in to the astronaut logbook.
The name's Branson, Sir Richard Branson, astronaut 001, license to thrill.
I like that. Because
astronaut 004, Sirisha Bedla.
So basically,
004.
they are the first 4 that will actually be going, I guess, on a production flight. And this is the first fully crewed flight. Yeah, writing yourself into a Bond movie, something like that.
What a way to start
It
off
sounds
your career.
as a really interesting YouTube series. Actually, you'll have to check that out. You'll have to, if you can drop it, into my Discord server, I'd appreciate it.
The spaceflight system was towed out to the runway and elegantly took to the skies on what is a
Let
beautiful
me
morning here in the
grab some
state of
information real
Mexico.
quick from my
They're at
Twitch
approximately
channel for you.
30,000 feet in altitude and climbing as we speak.
I actually need to get my
Our
socials
spaceflight
in there
system is
too.
comprised of 2 vehicles in a mated configuration. Our mothership Eve, named thoughtfully by Richard after his late mother Eve, and Spaceship Unity, named by the late Stephen Hawking as a vehicle that will unite the world through space. Once
And
at the
Stephen
launch
Hawking,
altitude and location,
that
Eve
guy-
will release Unity for a voyage to space. So today is the day, everyone. Chris, what is the significance of today's flight?
You know, I love it when the stuff of dreams becomes a reality. And we've been dreaming of commercial space flight, of people being able to fly in space.
I'll get the
since
I'll get the link for my
pioneers started flying,
server in just a sec here. There we go.
was so much like the profile that they're going to follow today. And then the Ansari X Prize to try and push.
That's
the
right,
limits
because
that
this was also
very
the
much
ship
convey this
arrangement that won the Ansari X Prize, which was the first ever privately built, designed and built space vehicle to actually go into space and bring people down. And they had very, very specific requirements that had to be met.
But I think it's so significant professionally, technically, but personally for the people on board.
Absolutely.
So
And
anyway,
you
here
mentioned
is
opening
my-
that doorway. Kelly, you're one of the people that's going to be going through that doorway soon. We are so thrilled to
Here
have you
is
to
my-
get
oop,
a
I'm on the
preview
wrong
of
one
what you're
here.
gonna
There we
experience
go.
On a Virgin Galactic mission in the not too distant future. You've got to be getting pretty excited, right?
Incredibly excited. You know, this is an emotional day, right? Those doors
Here you
are
go.
opening for the next generation of astronauts.
That is
I feel
my
like we have
Discord
front
server.
row
You can
seats
go
to
ahead and
final
join that and
I'm so
drop that
excited
information
to
in, and we can talk more about it.
experience soon.
Because I'm always interested in stuff that anything that anyone connected with Chris Hadfield is doing.
Let's take a look at what we've got in store for the live stream.
And yeah, Stephen Hawking, amazingly
So,
intelligent.
While Mothership Eve is transporting Spaceship Unity to the launch point, we'll check in with the crew and the preparations that went into today's flight. We'll also share some perspective on the Virgin Galactic mission, so who we are, what we do, and our vision for commercial space travel in the 21st century. Next, we'll give you a guided tour through the Virgin Galactic experience, showing you what our astronauts will see and do throughout their stay, both on the ground and on their life-changing journey into space. Once we've reached the launch altitude and location, we'll see the moment when Spaceship Unity is released from Mothership Eve and accelerates into space, all coming to you live. So there's some incredible
And it looks like that little arrowhead below is where they are on the mission timeline.
We're happy to have some special guests on site taking in this experience. My co-host Kevin. Kevin, what's the vibe like down there?
Thanks, Veronica. I am currently here at Spaceport America's hangar floor, where the ships usually reside, but as you just saw, they're on their way to
If they
space.
do the
Right
music
behind me,
thing,
I
I'm
have
probably going to
Rocky
switch
Motors
away
Space
for a big,
To my left,
mainly
there's
because I
one
do
person,
not want to deal with
CEO
copyright
and
strikes against my
Michael
channel.
Phloxworthy. Michael, good to see you.
It's great to be here, Kevin.
Michael, I have one question.
I believe before he
That is, what does today mean?
he predicted overpopulation, which was concerning when I was young. We're starting to see that coming right now, actually.
Certainly is a landmark moment for our founder, Sir Richard Branson, who right now is showing that when you have the fortitude to follow your dream, you can make a hugely profound impact on the world. It's a historic moment because today we are endeavoring to open access to space for all. Can you imagine?
Yep, that
Being up
is
there and looking back down has to be one of the most amazing feelings, and we can't wait for more people.
basically. I think what he might be talking about is the overview effect. And many of the astronauts, especially the Apollo ones, because they were the furthest away, they're talking about how, and I quoted it in my, I quoted something that essentially encapsulates it in my tribute to Michael Collins
It really is
when
a
he
historic
passed
moment
away.
For us, and I'm excited to be here. I'm going to be out in the street, so I'll see you guys in a little bit, but we're going to send it back to you.
Overpopulation seems to have been a misplaced concern. Misplaced as a concern. IMO. Okay, well, I guess we'll see, though.
Drive to succeed. Turns out pioneering a new form of space travel is a tough job, possibly even tougher than my job where I talk to celebrities for 1 hour a day. But the Virgin Galactic space is to make space itself more accessible and approachable.
Yeah, because right now, one of the things I remember watching a video of, and that's saying, for some people, going up to space is one of the toughest things in the world. Join the Discord. I'll drop the link in a little bit. It's a little awkward to navigate around one device. Okay, no problem. Just take your time.
Taking me outside onto the village green, and we just looked up at the moon. I really did think that myself and many other young people would one day be able to go into space.
And proportionately, this was probably one of the most watched events on the planet
They got me thinking.
for a long time.
I went to the registry office and I registered the name Virgin Galactic Airways.
It's a brilliant innovation story. The origins of spaceflight at the time, it was big government. The X Prize was a chance to turn that into a much more personal spaceflight experience.
Spaceship One.
There it goes.
And it proved the dream was possible. This was the first private venture to go to space, return safely, and do it again just 2 weeks later.
And then from
That's
there,
how
we
the
started
Ansari X
expanding.
Prize had to be
We
won.
wanted a bigger system. We wanted something that you could float about the cabin, actually experience zero gravity.
Yeah, that, where that thing just it's an interesting line to it's an interesting line to walk for someone like Stephen Colbert between puffery and genuine humor.
But we want to be that first
Yeah.
baseline for Earth and actually deliver on that promise.
We are changing the way humanity views space. We've taken the impossible and we're making it inevitable.
I always want to celebrate the team on this. You need heart. You need the best minds. You need the best humans to work on programs like this.
All those carbon fiber composites.
This is an inflection.
That is one of the things that Burt Rutan seems to be very, very specialized on. Yep.
Imagine what greatness can come from a generation seeing Earth.
It's also proven in space. In space-time seems to slightly slow down on you. Yeah, they did that, especially with the Kelly brothers. One stayed on the Earth and one stayed in space for a year, and one is now younger than the other, or older, I forget.
I really hope that there will be the world who will be captivated and inspired about the possibility of them going to space one day.
As for this particular one, I don't know if it's going to go all the way past the Kármán line, which is 100 kilometers above the surface of the planet, but that's essentially where the...
Nothing nicer, so if you're building a spacecraft, I'd love to come with you on it.
Yes, and now he's on that spacecraft.
Truly inspirational, and right now all of that inspiration is up in the sky as the Virgin Galactic spaceflight mission makes its way towards the launch point.
It's not in space per se, but undergoing acceleration, right? When undergoing acceleration. Well, basically, there are lines that I know in the U.S. originally, if you were 50 miles above the planet, you were considered an astronaut. But the international, I forget which international unit it is, but once you get past 67 miles or 100 kilometers, you can do that acceleration on Earth.
Throughout the show here, what would be going through your mind if you were on board with him right now?
Well, that's a good question. You can only do like up to maybe Mach 3.5. When you start getting into the really high speeds, then you have to deal with aerodynamic heating. In fact, Concorde would actually undergo considerable heating, and that one was at Mach 2, and we're not even talking. Oh, I see, time dilation. Yeah.
Mothership Eve is currently ascending still. We're already over 40,000.
The fastest speed ever flown by an air-breathing plane right now was done in an SR-71, presumably at Mach 3.5. But Mach 3.3 is what's actually officially recognized as the fastest speed, but Mach 3.5 is purely anecdotal right now.
Again, they're over 40,000 feet now, and just a beautiful view you get there already. I imagine they're just getting really excited for their upcoming space flight. So speaking of the crew on board, let's take a look at the folks in flight today. Virgin Galactic pilots are without a doubt among the very best of the best. They're some of the most experienced pilots in the world, and there are very few flying machines on Earth or off Earth that these professionals haven't flown. In fact,
Oh, that's true, because I guess some of these people apparently in the presentation chain have actually been involved in the space shuttle program.
Let's meet the crew now.
Not the least of which being Hadfield.
Begin with the folks who are supporting today's flight in the chase plane.
Do you expect supersonic air travel will occur in the next 20 years? Very likely. So, I think there's already working on a supersonic plane right now. It's probably not going to be online within the next, it'll probably be online at least the next 5 years, if not the next 10.
In the Marine Corps for 20 years, where he operated as a test pilot and a test pilot school instructor.
Wow, 34 types, that's a lot.
Over 3,000 flight hours in 34 different aircraft. In Mothership Eve today, we have CJ Sturkow in the left seat. CJ has completed 4 NASA space shuttle missions and 2 Spaceship Unity space flights. He's been flying for 37 years and is the first person to enter space from 3 different states.
Oh, wow, that's true.
Joined by Kelly Latimer in the right seat, who's logged more than 6,700 hours in her 32-year flying career.
747 SP, that's the shorter version of the 747.
Space company, and she just flew their successful launch the other week. Piloting Spaceship Unity today, we have our chief pilot and astronaut, Dave Mackay. Dave's been with Virgin Companies for over 25 years now and has more than 14,000 hours of flight time to his credit. Just incredible.
Dang, that is a lot of flight hours.
140 different types of aircraft.
That's a lot of type. That's a lot of type rating.
Mike recently passed more than 10,000 hours of logged flight in a career that's put him in the cockpit of more than 80 different types.
Oh,
of
you
aircraft,
too. Yeah, those fly out of Beale Air Force Base, just a bit north of here, near Marysville.
As you can see, our passengers today will be flown to space by some.
And those things fly way high, like 70,000 feet, and require a car on the ground to either take off or land.
Astronaut 004, Sirisha Bandla. I'll be testing the researcher experience. Virgin Galactic is opening up the opportunity to go to space for everyone. This is a whole new era to get people from different backgrounds, different geographies, different communities.
But I think for time dilation to really occur on, let's see, how long are they going to be in space? Probably not much more than. I mean, of course, they're going to go all the way up. They're probably going to go, I'd say about 5 minutes total, and then they're going to start. Then they'll be pulled down by the force of gravity. And because they're only going at Mach 3, there's not that much worry of like a burn up.
And how awesome it's going to be to be a part of the journey of opening this up to hundreds.
And of course, and since it's also since it also has wings, it should be able to it'll fly down. It should fly down just perfectly.
Cabin lead and test director. I cannot remember not dreaming of going to space. There's the little tiny kid looking up at the stars, the little girl making model rockets.
So basically, what'll happen is as soon as they drop off White Knight 2, they'll engage the engine and then go all the way up. They'll probably pass the Kármán line because that's considered to be actually where the beginning of space is. I forget which international union it is, but yeah, it's basically. Royal Virgin Galactic founder. Geez, not surprising.
Astronaut 001, what a title to have. Now,
License to thrill. Is Richard expected? That's a good question. I don't know if they're going to be. If he's going to ever fly in orbit, I don't know if there's going to be a crewed orbiting vehicle at this point.
Now say what you want about Richard Branson.
International Astronautics Union, I think is what that's for. Yeah, okay.
Business, travel, and entertainment. And it's all been fueled by his restless sense of adventure. And where did Richard get that intrepid spirit? His mother, Eve Branson. She taught Richard to be bold, to be brave, and Richard knows for many reasons today would not be possible without Eve. And he's penned a special letter in tribute to her.
See what she has to say. See what he has to say to her.
You always told me to reach for the stars. Well, I took my own winding road, but I always knew to follow your lead. You always pushed us to our limits. When I was a child, you threw me out of the car miles from our house and urged me to find my own way home.
Oh,
You
dear.
let me jump into a river to sink or swim. You and Dad taught me and my sisters independence and loved us with fierceness and tenderness. You were always an adventurer. You took glider lessons dressed as a boy, enlisted during World War II, toured Germany as a ballet dancer
That
after
looked like
the war.
a.
You flew
That looked like
treacherous
a
routes
mosquito.
as intrepid cabin crew for
Oh,
Startup Airlines.
a
You
de
took us
Havilland
into
Comet.
the great unknown on family holidays. You treated every day as a chance to explore. Before the word existed, you were always an entrepreneur. You helped make ends meet by creating your own small businesses. You showed me how to grow a company, how to treat people,
Oh, goodness, look at him.
how to be creative, how to balance work and play, how to live. You were always a romantic. You and Dad showed Joan and me the way to build a life filled with humor and heart, hope and humility, honesty and happiness. You showed us the value of kindness, the magic of laughter, the beauty of music, and the joy of family. You were always my guiding light at Virgin Galactic. You shared with me that the day we named our mothership VMS Eve was one of your happiest. You always knew Eve would start my journey to space one day, just as I always knew you would do the impossible for me. Well, Mum, our mothership, which carries your name, will carry the next generation of dreamers into space. You were always a dreamer. You urged me to strive for every opportunity I saw. You told me to chase my wildest fantasies and to live life to the full. Well, the brave may not live forever, but the cautious do not live at all. How you lived, how you loved, and how you are missed. Dad always said, "Isn't life wonderful?" And you both showed us it was. Always.
Such a beautiful letter. Eve Branson really was an inspiration to all of us here at Virgin Galactic. If you're just now tuning in, my name is Veronica McGowan. I'm a structures operations engineer here at Virgin Galactic. Alongside me is astronaut Chris Hadfield and future astronaut Kelly Girardi. So great to have you guys here. Earlier today, we saw Richard and his crew make their way down to the astronaut walkway at Spaceport America, seeing their families
There they
off before
go.
they were escorted to our spaceflight system, where final inspections and preparations were made before takeoff. They were driven to the runway in our fleet of Land Rovers, and Land Rover is our exclusive automotive partner, and they help with day-to-day operations. And in fact, we have a bespoke vehicle that we designed with them called the Astronaut Edition. And this is exclusively available to Virgin Galactic future astronauts, and it's the one that drove Richard to to Spaceship Unity this morning. So we're delighted to have Land Rover as a part of the team. And right now, our crew are on their way to space. Let's check in on them via our onboard camera footage. Wow, look at that view already, and you can see some contrails. Chris, how do you think the crew will be feeling right about now?
Excuse me.
So many different things at once. They're just about leveled off at altitude, right up at 46,000 feet. But inside their bodies, they've got like this tug of war going on because they're focused. Like there's no more focused.
Yeah, they're pretty much leveled off.
Focused, but at the same time, there's this like rising.
Okay, so we got about 15 minutes until they actually release and go ahead and start flying.
But I remember at the time, what I really wanted to do was go back to my 9-year-old self and just run around the cockpit and scream and wave my hands because it's just so exciting and fun. They're focused, they're professional, they're doing their job, but it's
They're
just
half the speed of
magnificent
sound.
moment as we get ready for ignition.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's certainly a mixture of excitement and anticipation.
T-minus
with our
15
crew
minutes.
today, but they will all be focused on the task at hand, as you said, and preparing themselves to run through their individual test points. And on the subject of testing, today's spaceflight is an opportunity for us to evaluate our cabin experience. It's the environment where our passengers will cross the 50-mile border, defined by NASA as the entry to space.
Okay, so they're going by NASA instead of the IAU, which is 50 miles. Whereas the other vehicle, on the other hand, will actually go past the Kármán line, which is at 67 miles or 100 kilometers.
The wonder of innovation. You know, back in 1860, it took 10 days for the Pony Express to deliver a letter from Missouri to the toilet while they vacation on the other side of the world. Progress. But while some technology has grown exponentially, others have remained practically the
Boy,
same.
what's going on with our stream?
Still travel at the same speed they did 50 years ago. We still use the same ground launch system from the early days of space travel, and they haven't come out with a new snow cone machine in years. That's where the innovations of Virgin Galactic come in.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff though does come by way of scale composites.
Make it like no other vehicle that has ever gone before. Firstly, air launch. Most rockets you see make a loud and bumpy vertical launch from the ground. To launch from the ground requires huge amounts of energy to lift the vehicle from a static start and to propel it through the thickest parts of the Earth's atmosphere. Instead, Virgin Galactic spaceflight starts with a smooth runway takeoff, not dissimilar to a conventional commercial airliner. The spaceship, attached to a mothership, gracefully ascends to
So basically what they're doing is they're getting pretty close to the stratosphere. They're sitting at about 47,000 feet.
When the vehicles have reached the launch altitude and location, Mission Control provides clearance for release.
Release.
The pilots activate the launch and set Spaceship free. Within seconds, the rocket motor ignites as the vehicle starts its
And then they go, and
and
ascend.
Journey, the spaceship reaches speeds of up to 3 times the speed of sound, and out the window,
And then is
will watch the color change from blue through indigo, and then to the iconic inky black as they soar into space. Once the rocket motor shuts down, passengers will unbuckle their seatbelts and float effortlessly around the cabin, enjoying the childlike freedom of zero gravity. The cabin becomes a spacious, 3-dimensional playground.
And love to see all these flat earthers go and take a quick ride in that. That'd be an interesting jaunt for them.
Windows, and passengers won't be able to resist being drawn towards the undeniable, euphoric beauty that lies beneath, as planet Earth looks right back at them in all her majesty. Whilst enjoying weightless,
It's still going up. It's still going up. Still.
the vehicle is preparing itself for re-entry.
According to that, it's probably even going to hit. It probably will actually hit the Kármán line.
Innovation of Virgin Galactic space system, the Feather.
There's FPGs.
Re-entry is arguably the most challenging aspect of space travel and has largely been approached in 2 ways: with winged vehicles or with capsule spacecraft. The revolutionary aspect of Virgin Galactic Feather technology is that it enables the vehicle to act like a winged vehicle when it is advantageous to be a winged vehicle, and then behave as a capsule when a capsule design gives you the advantage. On the way to space, the spaceship folds in half, with the booms moving upward to a 60-degree position as our pilots put the vehicle into an
Basically, those things moved in an uncommanded way on VSS Enterprise during her last mission.
unobstructed views. This maneuver also allows the vehicle to behave like a capsule on re-entry, spreading the friction heat generated from re-entering the Earth's atmosphere across the entire underside of the spaceship, and aerodynamically enabling it to reorient itself from any position. Once the ship has slowed down and starts to travel through the thicker parts of the Earth's atmosphere, where a winged vehicle is advantageous for maneuverability, the booms come back down from their feather position, and the spaceship gently glides back home safely and smoothly, ensuring
And there it goes, touching down, getting ready to touch down.
and landing on the same runway took off from. A truly extraordinary design, fit for an out-of-this-world experience.
So, I'm still wondering if I'd be still streaming right about now.
Next level space engineering. I love how its re-entry is feathered, just like Richard's hair. I imagine it must be an emotional and life-changing moment to experience zero-G and see our fragile planet floating in the depths of space. I would go up in a minute if my wife would let me. How about you, Veronica?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that would be an offer too good to refuse. Now, Chris, I'm sure you'd agree that the experience that Richard is having
They're
right now
coming
is
up on the
probably a lot more
T-minus 8-minute
comfortable than
mark.
your launches.
Yeah, I had a chance to fly as part of the space shuttle crew twice, and then I flew
Minus
on the
8
Russian
minutes.
ship as the pilot once, and it's a little capsule, like they were talking about winged and capsule vehicles, but both of them needed a rocket to get them up above the atmosphere. And the beauty of what Sir Richard and his crew are doing now is that they've had the mothership Eve to carry them gently up. So yeah, they're much more comfortable than I was.
And the other thing to bear in mind with the Soyuz is that the Soyuz capsule is very, very, very cramped. The Falcon 9, excuse me, the Crew Dragon, on the other hand, is much, much more spacious. It can even handle as many as 7 astronauts. But over Crew 1 and Crew 2, they launched with 4 astronauts each.
Profile to simulate zero-G seconds at a time. But during a dedicated research mission with Virgin Galactic, I am most looking forward to that continuous, uninterrupted minutes worth of microgravity exposure to do my experiments. It's just an unprecedented time. The next generation of researchers and scientists are
And in the case of New Shepard, it'll be entirely in...
Yes, definitely excited for your space flight, and I'm very excited that people can experience
would be in what sense?
on space flights, but also conduct
you're gonna have to...
research, so it's a really flexible
I'm not sure... I need you to could you please recontextualize the question? I think I've sort of forgotten what I'd said, and that needs to be recontextual. I need to get some more context to put that back into.
We're in the middle of our L-10 checks. And L-10, it means we're approximately 10 minutes out from the moment when Mothership Eve releases Spaceship Unity, and this is based on an estimated time of arrival to that release point, so timing may vary a little bit.
No longer.
But the closer we get to that point, the more accurate the estimate
No longer
becomes.
streaming.
And right now we're about 6 minutes out. So up until L-10, Eve is in full Mothership mode, carrying Spaceship Unity to altitude and providing her, through essentially an umbilical cord with electrical power, system heat, and cabin pressurization. And this air is conditioned, so we can keep folks cool on the ground for hot summer days like today. And heated at high altitudes where things get a little bit cooler to keep the pilots and the passengers comfortable.
Oh, if the launch hadn't been... let's see what you're saying here. Oh, if the launch hadn't been delayed... Oh, that's a good question. I would not have... I probably would have canceled the stream and postponed it for a different day. Okay, we're coming up on the T-minus 5-minute mark.
These days, more and more systems are becoming automated, especially in aircraft and spacecraft. And what's really exciting about the Virgin Galactic spaceflight system is that our crew truly are hands-on with the piloting throughout the flight. Oh, there's Sir Richard Branson now.
There he is.
So exciting to see them in the back. I'm sure they are just getting incredibly excited.
They're at 46,000 feet.
Earlier, we have Dave and Mike up front. We have an amazing team of pilots here, and they just love to pilot a vehicle that is.
They haven't given us the.
In the world to fly.
Oh, I see. I think that arrowhead down there is just pointing to the segment that they're in.
Knowing they have crew members with them throughout the duration of the flight.
Nope. I guess we just couldn't see it.
Just moments away at this point. It's looking like we're about 4 minutes and 20 seconds out now.
Wow, they're going shirt sleeve. But then again, I guess that's the idea.
All right, so I am
Be interesting to see what it's going to be like for New Shepards.
4 checks in work now, so we just passed the 4-minute mark.
We're inside of T-minus 4 minutes.
Pilots are ensuring the spaceship is in its launch configuration after going through the various L-10 checks, just confirming all settings are back in their place and go for launch. Now, this is also the point when Spaceship Unity will isolate her air supply from Eve and prime the rocket motor by opening the backup oxidizer valve.
Okay, about inside of 3.5 minutes.
Once these actions are complete, the pilots are going to seek clearance for release from MCC. And that's shorthand for our Mission Control Center. We have 2 MCCs supporting today. Our primary horizon is located here at Spaceport America, and they're being supported by the Oculus Mission Control Center at our manufacturing base in Mojave, California. These teams consist of experts across various departments and disciplines within the company.
T-minus 3 minutes.
The crew today, every step of the way. All right, and I've just heard from MCC that our L-4 checks are complete. We are roughly 3 minutes out from release at this point. It's getting really exciting.
We're coming up.
But I can feel the anticipation building just watching the screen and looking at their faces. Look at that.
Look at this. Oh my goodness, this is going to be interesting because if this succeeds, we will be on the cusp of having people come up there and have a look at the planet, and hopefully they'll be able to see the planet and say, "Oh my God, this is a lot more fragile than I'd realized." That's the overlook effect. Okay, we're coming up on T-minus 2 minutes.
We're about 2 minutes out now, and once we get to the 30-second point, Spaceship Unity is going to arm the launch pylon. And then once we get to that designated point, the mothership pilots are actually the ones that engage the release, setting Unity free. So we have actions for both the mothership pilots and
We just passed T-minus 2 minutes.
And all agree on the launch.
It's a hugely exciting and focused moment right now.
Definitely.
T-minus 90 seconds.
30 seconds. The spaceship pilots are also going to push the stick all the way forward to prepare for release. And things happen pretty quickly after the release. So the pilots are
coming up on 1 minute.
Motor, and they're going to accelerate in level flight until they reach Mach 1, at which point they'll start what we call the gamma turn, where we turn directly up and head to space.
T-minus 1 minute. One of the grad students at the evolutionary biology lab I worked at for a bit got an extremely subtle tattoo, a pale blue dot.
Seconds.
Okay, we're coming up on 30 seconds. Interesting. T-minus 30 seconds.
30 seconds. The Spaceship Unity pilots are arming the launch pylon now.
20 seconds.
Release. 20 seconds.
15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release has been called. There it goes. And the engines are started. And the vehicle has cleared the area of MS Eve. It has now gone supersonic. Boy, there it goes.
Unity is pointed directly up and heading to space. Things are looking great. We are 25 seconds into the burn now, approaching Mach 2.
It just passed Mach 2.
Everything's looking really good and stable. 40 seconds.
It'll continue to go up after the engine burns out.
45 seconds.
Looks like it's getting ready to burn out.
Mach 3.
Mach 3.
There's Mach 3. And 60 seconds, and that is a
And the engine is burned out.
We are headed to space. And
they'll continue to go upward for a bit more.
Clear to unstrap. Our predicted apogee is 279,000 feet and climbing. The pilots are now unlocking the feather, and as soon as they do that, it's going to initiate a backflip for Spaceship Unity. This is normal. We want those windows pointed down towards the Earth to maximize that incredible view.
T plus 90 seconds.
So feather is coming up now, and the pilots are also enabling the RCS, or Reaction Control System, which is what they'll use to control the attitude of the vehicle while we're outside the atmosphere.
Yeah, otherwise they do not have, I mean, their aerodynamic surfaces have absolutely no authority where they are.
Right, feather is all the way up. We are at about 250,000 feet now and climbing. As soon as we cross the boundary to space, we'll hear a word from our founder, Sir Richard Branson.
Apparently they're going by the NASA standard of 50 miles.
22.
Waiting for the call.
So it doesn't sound like we're cameras recording things on board today, and we'll be sure to capture his magical words and share them with the world when they're available. We reached apogee 282,000 feet.
Okay, so they've already reached apogee.
Remember the day, remember where you are, and remember who you shared this with, and remember the name Virgin Galactic, because today, space is virgin territory. The culmination of a life's work, more than a half a century since the world rejoiced in and was transformed by humans leaving
Mach
planet
1.5.
Earth, Sir Richard Branson fulfills his long-held dream of experiencing space with his crew. Congratulations again, Richard, and congratulations also to Sirisha and Colin on becoming astronauts today. And welcome back to space to Dave, Mike, and Beth.
There they are, weightless.
You can see them now.
Unfortunately, the video is not the greatest, but hey, they are weightless because they're in a state of free fall.
So we are on the re-entry portion of our flight now, and the mission specialists are heading back to their seats. Our training team has worked really hard on this portion of the flight to make it very natural and intuitive for passengers. Now, when we talk about space travel, a lot of people know and expect the boost portion of the flight to be loud and thrilling, but what's interesting is re-entry is also very similar, as supersonic air is flowing over the vehicle in the feathered configuration. Shock waves form on top of the cabin, which are audible to those inside. And for those of you on site watching on the ground, you should be able to hear a double sonic boom as Spaceship Unity once again breaks the sound barrier.
Stand by. I had to go mute that for a sec. Because they can actually get pictures of that from the outside.
All right, folks, we are now subsonic. Just under 75,000.
It just went transonic? That is correct. It is from free fall, and in the case of orbital travel, that is pretty much indefinite as long as you can keep the orbit from decaying. Basically, an orbit is essentially a perpetual free fall, where you're not only falling downward but also sideways. You're moving sideways to keep from ever actually re-entering the atmosphere.
Now, also note too, this is our first time transmitting.
Nowhere near. No. They had to go to Mach 25 in order to actually achieve orbital velocity.
So please do see some drops in the feed, but we still have some really great ground footage coming in here. Oh, there we go. Now we can see that is the tail cone of Unity. And the pilots are lowering the feather now.
Yep, now they're...
Now, as the feather comes down, the nose of Spaceship is going to drop. This is normal and expected. Once that feather's down and locked, the pilots will begin a gentle pull-up to a level attitude. And I'm hearing the feather is down and locked now.
If you want to watch an orbital flight, a little bit later this month, there will be stuff on my Twitch channel about that.
So if the pilots want to go faster, they point the nose down, and if they want to go slower, they bring the nose up. And right now I'm hearing the crew's listening to a special soundtrack for the glide. It's the latest release from Khalid, a track called New Normal. And all of us will get to hear
Interesting name for that.
Celebration, so stick around for that.
That is an interesting way of putting it. What I'll probably do is...
about you all, but I'm still feeling overwhelmed and excited about what we just witnessed. And there's one person in particular who's got to be having all of the feels right now. You can see him sending a congratulatory shake to his passenger, Colin Bennett, there with him. Let's see if we can connect with the crew again.
Has anybody done that since the moon landing? Good question.
Manual dump to 200.
Gliding down. Oh my God, that is beautiful flight. Those are some beautiful flight pictures. They're starting to come down into the atmosphere.
So, Richard, you just went to space. This has got to be the ultimate birthday present for you. What was it like?
There's microgravity because of distance rather than velocity, I mean. You know, I don't think so, but you can actually simulate a lot of that stuff, like say in the like in a vomit comet. It just depends on the arcs of the angles of the parabola that you do, the parabolic dives that you do.
All right, folks, again, sorry, we're not getting that transmission through the live broadcast, but again, we do have lots of recording devices aboard the spaceship, and we will be sure to release some footage of Richard and the crew up there today.
There they are. But as far as an actual
beautiful spaceport. Congratulations to everybody for creating such a beautiful, beautiful place. Congratulations to all our wonderful team at Virgin Galactic for 17 years of hard work to get us this far.
I don't know if we've experienced microgravity quite that way since the moon program.
There, it does have a long way to travel, but you could tell by the smiles on their faces, they just had the ride of their lives. We are so excited for them to land and party the rest of the day with like astronauts in the typical Virgin fashion.
So in the meantime, they are Virgin cellular reception. Yeah.
Mentioned earlier, Unity is a glider at this point. So the pilots right now are discussing their energy management plan, and pretty shortly here they'll be meeting up with our Chase aircraft with Jamil and Patrick to get some really cool visuals of Spaceship Unity.
One of my favorite, speaking of Chase planes, one of my favorite views I ever got to see was during the first few missions of the Space Shuttle program, primarily by Columbia, where they would have Chase planes come alongside the vehicle as it was getting ready to touch down. I'll never forget those views because you'll see it's coming down. Yeah, that makes sense. Basically, it was coming down at a pretty steep angle.
And of course, we also have White Sands nearby. White Sands National Park is just to our east. It's visible right over the Black.
White Sands is also another. The White Sands Missile Test Range is the only other place apart from Edwards and Kennedy Space Center was where the space shuttle touched down. That's because neither other place were available. But they had to touch down at White Sands Missile Test Range. That was very early in the program, and it only was used once.
So also nearby is the Oregon Mountain Desert Peaks National Monument, and that's nearly 500,000 acres of protected land that our guest families will be able to experience. And even though temperatures can hit the triple digits in the summer here, we also have cool desert days. And fortunately, our
Is that a latitude thing?
Thanks to their spacesuits. They were designed with our technical spacewear partner, Under Armour, and they're absolutely beautiful, as you can see on the crew there.
That's a good question.
Flight grid knitted fabrics, which forms the spacesuit and also helps regulate their body temperature.
Anyway, I'm not so sure if latitude had anything to do with the what we were seeing in the. If we were talking about this, there we go. Now we've got some nice visuals there.
So also to commemorate this flight from New Mexico, we reached out to the Zia Pueblo, who gave us permission to use their sun symbol on our spaceship.
Oh, cool.
This symbol is also a part of the New Mexico state flag, and it's embedded with symbolic meaning. The number 4 is sacred to the Zia people, and the emblem represents the 4 directions, the 4 seasons, the 4 times of day, and the 4 phases of life. We are honored and proud to feature this perfectly balanced symbol on Spaceship Unity's tail cone, as we also celebrate our new home.
Probably doing a circling.
Oh, you can see the chase in the background there outside of
Yep.
Richard's window.
See it to the left? It's just off the screen.
Chase now and discussing their energy management plan. They're at about 9,500 feet in altitude, and the runway out here at Spaceport America
There it is.
around 4,600 feet in altitude.
I wonder if it's going to come through with a glide slope, much like what you'd see on the space shuttle, which is very, very steep. They're doing in a heading alignment circle, much like you'd see on a space shuttle landing.
All right, we have 3 landing gear down and locked. Now the pilots are going to be landing on runway 34 today, so that's coming from the south and towards the north for those of you on site watching. And for the non-pilots tuning in, those numbers represent the first 2 numbers of the magnetic heading of the runway. So for example, 34 is 340 degrees on your compass.
Okay. Looks like they're getting ready to.
1,000 feet above the field now and on final.
They're on final approach. They're on the glide path. They're getting ready to flare.
300 feet.
There they go. They're flaring the nose.
Over the threshold.
Here it comes. Main gear touchdown.
Main gear touchdown. And we're going to hold it just like this for a minute before bringing the nose down.
Primarily so they can bleed off a bit more velocity because it's going nose down. Nose gear touchdown.
Nose gear touchdown. And braking.
There's a brake paddle there that's being used to to increase drag. And it looks like there are panels on the tail as well that have been bent that have been flexed in order to introduce even more drag.
Look at that incredible drone footage here as we come in. And there is full stop.
Wheel stop.
A perfect landing. Virgin Galactic 4 mission specialists on board from our operational home base.
It looks like they've got a bunch of people coming in to get them out of the vehicle.
Congratulations to everybody on board, and of course our very own Spaceship Unity, who returned to space today. And of course we also saw beautiful flying from our Eve crew, CJ and Kelly, and brilliant work by our chase pilots, Jamil and Patrick, all of whom are still in the air right now. Great job to you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. More than half a century since the world rejoiced when humans first achieved spaceflight, Richard Branson fulfills his dream of experiencing space travel. Congratulations to Richard
And earlier this year, when Soyuz MS-18 went up, apparently it went up the day and from the same spot, 60 years to the day that Yuri Gagarin took flight.
We will be hearing more from our
From
astronauts
Gagarin's start.
And we also have a special musical performance to celebrate today's milestone. But first, let's hear some thoughts on the flight. Chris, you've returned from space several times now, both on a capsule and a space
Let's hear what they have to say, and then when they go to the performance, we're going to go ahead and end stream.
Well, obviously, that's a much more gentle landing than a capsule on my Soyuz flight. The shuttle 2 times is quite similar to what the crew just went through. But for them, of course, it's such a personal experience now. And what are they going to do with this? How are they
Yes, indeed.
This amazing view of the Earth that they've just had, and the kind of brave new nature of what this whole team has just accomplished? How are they going to now make that part of who they are, and how are they going to share this experience with other people? You know, that's what's going through their minds right now. I'm just so proud of the whole team. That was
In case anybody is joining us, they just had a flight of Virgin Galactic's Spaceship Two,
it's what,
and that's VSS Unity on the tarmac there.
Ever since I was a little kid dreaming about it, and
they just touched down moments ago, and the crew included Virgin Group founder Sir Richard Branson.
And the vision to push beyond all the resistance and the naysayers, and to create a capability for, you don't have to be a professional astronaut for your whole life to see the world this way. I think, I just couldn't be more proud of all the people that work at Virgin Galactic, and I'm just so delighted at what this open door is going to lead to now. It's a great moment.
Absolutely, certainly. And Kelly, I want to hear your thoughts too. And, you know, also your daughter, Delta V, who is on site today, she's only 3, and she's also a huge space enthusiast just like you. And, you know, how does this milestone affect her and what does that mean for her and also for you?
Yeah, I am still emotional from this flight. It was so amazing. A dry eye in the studio. But, you know, when I think of my daughter on site, just like you said, it's like, this is what it's all about. You know, it means the world to me. Not only that she was here to witness history today, but that she's going to watch me, her mom, become an astronaut. You know, that's going to be normal in her mind. That's just another thing moms do. Of course, they go to space. You know, and I just think
the new normal, as they were talking about, or something like that. I think it was the name of Khalid's piece that he's about to perform.
It's just such a powerful reminder of how much can change in a single generation. My mom is also on site here today. She's going to kill me for aging her, but when she was born, human beings hadn't yet been to space. And when she was growing up, women weren't eligible. And now here she is watching her daughter prepare for a space flight of my own. You know, it gives me a
Absolutely. You know, and the moon landing is what inspired Sir Richard Branson. And so who knows what, you know, Delta V watching today, what that's going to inspire her to do and other people in her generation. It's so incredibly exciting.
It is.
And folks,
and the whole idea with the whole idea of Virgin Galactic's Spaceship Two is to make space accessible to the common person.
Space was something that was unattainable by all but a very small group of people, and it was a preserve of government agencies for national pride. And this is totally different. You know, it's the new space age, which is, you know, for Kelly, for Delta V, for Chris, for me, it's for everybody.
And meanwhile, they're in the process of getting ready to open the hatch.
So I know, you know, the full effect of what happened today will not be felt for some time, but it will touch many generations to come. Now, Chris, you were aboard the ISS for about 5 months at one point, right? Did the view out the window ever get old?
Gosh, no. At the end of my 5 months on the space station, we were getting back into our ship, just sort of like the crew returned today. And just before I got into my spacesuit, I went over to the window just to try and soak up a little more of that incredible perspective. You know, the world is so generously beautiful. And you see it in a whole new way. You can see for thousands of miles in each direction. And you can see the curvature of our planet, and the reality of where we all live suddenly becomes part of who you are. And right up to the last second, I was there with my nose print on the glass, you know, trying to not miss the magnificence of this entire experience.
Yeah, and you took like thousands of photos up there too, right? I mean, does that even give you a glimpse of what it was like as a reminder to be up there?
Well, I know the video today was a little glitchy, but we've got all the recorders on board.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
What the crew's going to have now, of course, is their own personal memories, and then the way to sort of catalyze them again and be able to watch those videos and think about of the beauty of what they've been through and let it sort of sink into who they are. And so, yeah, it really helped me now remember the richness of the experience. So it'll be great to see the videos that they recorded on board.
Absolutely, and you know that
I'll have to keep eyes out for that and possibly do a presentation specifically of that. And it'll probably be here on YouTube, though.
Walking through spider webs. But also, you know, my favorite part of it was when you talked about seeing Earth from above.
Geez, I was seeing a whole new world at karaoke a couple nights ago.
You know, we call it the overview effect that, you know, I really hope and I'm sure that our astronauts today experience. What was that like for you?
And apparently even James May of Top Gear fame, when he flew aboard a U2, he was only 13 miles or about 70,000 feet above the planet. And he too experienced the overview effect. Basically looking at it and saying, this is what the...
To understand not just the geology of the world, but us on it. You know, all 7 billion of us. You know, we're on board this little spaceship of Earth, and you can actually get a palpable sense of that from on board the ship. And the crew of you know, Unity, their 22nd flight here today, they now have that inside of them.
Because you don't see those political boundaries that exist on a map down there. You just see a big, massive land, and the fact that we live on said massive land.
Really understanding the 3 dimensions and what this planet truly looks like, and it's going to do us all good. As many people can see that as possible.
Absolutely. And, you know, Kelly, I know you're going to be conducting a lot of experiments on board while you fly with Virgin Galactic, but I hope you're taking some time to look out the window and enjoy that too, right?
I'm going to have to carefully choreograph precious time at that window just to soak it in. And
yeah, that was only a 10-minute mission at most,
and, you know, while we're waiting
maybe
for
15.
Our crew to disembark now, can you actually tell us a little bit about your experiments?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to be flying healthcare and fluid experiments on board my research flight. The first one is the AstroSkin. It's a wearable sensor system designed to monitor how spaceflight affects the human body. The cool thing about it is the AstroSkin is currently worn on board the International Space Station by astronauts, but my flight will be the first time that we're collecting data during launch, reentry, and landing. So I'm really excited to contribute to some novel data collection for the next generation of
because that'll at least allow people to do some data collection for during the events where they normally wouldn't be able to, say on Crew Dragon, Starliner, or even Soyuz.
That has a camera attached to it, and data collected from that experiment can help inform.
Because a lot of the experiences are the same, but of course you're not going to orbital velocity. A lot of the exact sensations are the same.
Absolutely. Well, that's so cool. I am hearing that our Chief Medical Officer, Tara Castleberry, is approaching the vehicle now, and they are going to do a medical debrief with the crew. So we'll see that here momentarily. And our crew is actually going to join us later in the broadcast, where they will receive their astronaut wings. So
well, that's true.
I'm sure you have a vivid memory of the day you received your wings.
Yeah, wings that we wear on our chest, they're a measure of a lifetime of work and purpose. And
I tried indoor skydiving? No, I have not, but there is a place I know where I could go. It's in nearby Roseville. I could certainly go there and try that there.
That's on my chest, so that was a huge honor for me to have, you know, the
so I could do that. That'd be interesting to see, because a lot of the experiences that are felt during that are likely the same if you're doing an actual free fall. The only difference is that you're you're falling though, but you're not exactly falling. You're falling in place, as it were, for lack of a better way of putting it. Because you're actually being actually kept up by essentially from an upward thrust from below.
Thanks, Veronica. America. And if you thought that was incredible, folks, someday you're going to tell your grandchildren that you were watching the live stream when Virgin Galactic and Richard Branson first launched into space. And they'll say, we know, Mima, you've told that story 100 times. But then you'll say, even the part about Khalid performing the song New Normal for the first time, and then they'll sit up excitedly and they'll say, really? You were there? And you'll say, yes. Because, ladies and gentlemen, here to debut his new single, New Normal,
Okay.
welcome to the stage, El Paso's very own.
Okay, I'm going to have to go ahead and move away from that. I'm really sorry about that, but I don't want to have to deal with any kind of copyright strikes. And honestly, I'm not going to wait that long to get more information, to get the rest of that. At some point, I probably will get the video of Branson and his colleagues receiving their astronaut wings, because that is something you get when you cross the line into what they consider space. You get your astronaut wings. So, in any event, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Since we're not on Twitch, I can't rate anybody. That's too bad, but it was I'm so glad that everybody came here, because this is something you don't get to see very often, a bit of history being made, and we got to see it. So in any event, I thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope to have my schedule up pretty soon for the coming week. I'm sorry for not having very many streams last week. I was dealing with some other stuff with regard to the recent solar install, and I had a bunch of other worries. So, and on top of that, if nothing else, I needed a bit of a break, because I'd been pretty much streaming almost nonstop for a little while, and I'm not exactly used to that. So, in any event, thank you so much for joining me, watching this bit of history being made today, and we'll see a little bit more of it being made next week when Jeff Bezos and a Mercury-era astronaut to be, who got denied simply because of her gender, gets to make her maiden flight. So, when New Shepard 15 goes up on her first crewed mission, hope to see you then. And I may actually stream from here. So more on that will be on my Twitter feed. All that information is just below. I also need to set up Stream Elements to do all the socials here too. So in any event, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a great day. And thanks for being a witness to some history here, folks. So in the meantime, I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.